We got a show for you tonight. I think it's Let's Talk Broncos, and that's good Broncos. It's the matchup you've all been waiting for. It's been a while since we've all been on the same screen. I know that we've been kind of shuffling it all together. We've got a show for you today as we head on into the divisional round. That's right after our intro video. I like to break the fourth wall. I like to just introduce us like that, tell you exactly what's going on, whether or not Zach Seegers is muted as Mike or Joey Richards is late to the group. I want you to know all the back and forth that we had prior to going live here. Bree Maestas, Brandon Perna, Joey Richards, Zach Seegers. Guys, we're going to talk about the breakdown after the wild card weekend matchup. That was 2 games every single night. I got a little too used to it. Now it's going to be a little bit shorter of programming for us to break down, but we're going to react to what we think is going to happen during the divisional round. Perna, do you have anything for us before we get started?
Yeah. Good timing. I got a tickle in my throat. First of all, I wanted to highlight this. Let's see here. The winner from the season-long That's Good Sports Patreon Pick'em, Juan Gonzalez, first place. Now, here's the caveat. Looks like there were 2 games that might have went unpicked. So I don't know if we have a true champion. Although, Trevor the Warrior had 2 more losses with 180 wins. Haven't mentioned this. I'm a couple weeks late, obviously, but just wanted to shout out everybody who finished ahead of me. Fuck you guys for apparently knowing football better than I do, even though I spend every single waking moment of my life talking about it. And I appreciate all of your support and just wanted to highlight our winner before we get into talking about what we're going to talk about.
Beautiful. Congratulations to Juan Gonzalez. If that stands. I don't know. We need to do further research on that one.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that.
You and him should chicken fight for the ultimate winner. Like you win, and then you win the opportunity to chicken fight you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, give yourself an automatic bye to the final round.
I'll do it.
I bet you will. Do we want to jump into AFC or NFC first? Which I'm gonna lead it up to you guys. I'm gonna go AFC. Let's go AFC. Because those are some big games, right? You obviously have the Ravens coming off of a bye week. Welcome back to the postseason, Lamar Jackson. Guys, I think it's time. It's time for CJ Stroud to basically cement his stellar rookie season. It's been a massive test thus far with the injuries and what have you. But DeMeco Ryans and his quarterback have the chance to really make this happen against the Ravens. They're a tough team. The Ravens defense leads the NFL in sacks during the regular season. And I think Houston and Baltimore is going to be an exciting affair here. The Ravens have won 6 of their last 7 games. They have the highest point margin in the NFL. And they also boast a extensively robust defense that will be chasing Stroud down the entire game. Baltimore is so tough. But I'm rooting for the Texans here. I want to hear what you guys think because you got Nico Collins, you have Will Anderson Jr., CJ Stroud. Their names just elicit excitement. How could you bet against them?
Because the Ravens are the better football team. I mean, hey, I'm going to be rooting for them. I really like CJ Stroud.
Joey just said he hates the Texans. He hates people from Texas, and he hopes the Texans lose. That's all I heard.
Listen, I'm not agreeing or denying with that statement made by Brandon there, but also at the same time, I just think the Ravens are a better football team. They've been the better football team the entire year. The Texans are really cool. It's a great story. DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud, first timers, rookies all around. Nico Collins, he makes his big kind of splash in the NFL year. But the Ravens are the seasoned football team. That's what it's really going to come down to in this game. The Ravens pretty much have put a whooping to every good football team in the NFL, so it feels like this year. They're not just winning, but like blowing them out. So I'm going to go Baltimore in this game all day. I just think they're better.
Yeah, I mostly agree with Joey, and I'm high on the Texans. They're fun to watch. I think their future is bright for a very, very long time. The one thing the Texans have working against them are some injuries on I think Noah Brown's out, right? So they really need John Mechie to step up. We saw Brevin Jordan make a huge play for them against the Browns, which all of us, I'm sure, like Brevin Jordan's not a guy most people talk about, but I think Broncos fans, when we watch that game, are like, who the hell's this Brevin Jordan dude? Because he looks pretty quick. So he's going to have to step up. And the one thing I just don't see the Ravens doing, and we just watched kind of like Joe Flacco and the Browns fall apart, and he gifted them 2 easy scores that turned what was at the time a close game into a blowout. And the Ravens aren't going to make those mistakes. And in fact, they're the kind of team that forces those mistakes. And I think the pressure that they can put on CJ Stroud is going to be a big deal. I was looking at it because I just did it for power ranking. So Stroud was sacked 5 times week 1, 6 times week 2, and then he went on a 3-game streak without taking any sacks. And I just remember at that time, like, thinking CJ Stroud looks kind of good, but like his offensive line looks terrible. And I think maybe Tunzel was out at the time. I can't remember. And we were like, if he can get any protection, maybe he'll be like, okay. And then like the narrative changed quick. And then the Broncos are the only other team that got 5 sacks on Stroud. And I think that's like the only way to slow him down is actually sacking him, not just pressuring him, because I think he'll still beat you, but you have to get your arms around him and pull him all the way to the ground.
Yeah, and that's hard to do. I mean, this Ravens defense is better than anyone else at creating those sacks. You talked about how he got sacked early on in the season. Well, one of those games was against the Ravens, but I think this Texans offensive line has, to your point, really outperformed expectations and is making it hard on teams. The Browns, who I think have an incredible pass rush, couldn't get to CJ Stroud at all. I think one thing, and I think I'm also going to have to pick the Ravens here, but if I were to drop the case for the Texans, I think the place I'm starting is since 2018, if you look at all 42 quarterbacks that have played at least 10 non-garbage time playoff snaps, CJ Stroud is number 2 in terms of EPA per play, only behind Jordan Love, who, my goodness, the two of them looked like absolute flamethrowers. And he's number 2 by a wide margin. He's nearly double Matt Stafford at number 3, who's also been an incredible playoff performer over that stretch. Lamar Jackson, meanwhile, is 38th out of, again, the 42 qualifying quarterbacks. So the idea of him maybe kind of diminishing some in the postseason, there is some truth to that. And we've already seen that CJ Stroud and this Texans offense, as beat up as it might be, can light anybody up. Again, they just did it against the Browns, who were a historically great defense.
Yeah. And other news as well, I have to add on to this, guys. Mark Andrews is back. He was a full participant in practice, and that's a huge addition. For the Baltimore Ravens there. That's a big one. I mean,
you want to know my hot take from that?
What is your hot take?
Because I just did the episode. I said, unless he's 100%, like a real 100%, Ravens are probably better off targeting Isaiah Likely because he's actually been better than Mark Andrews this season in terms of production, 5 touchdowns over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And like the cat, like obviously if they're both on the field and they're both healthy, you want that. But if he's not like feeling great and you're taking opportunities away from Likely, I think it works against the Ravens. But, you know, I also agree with what you're saying. Like if he's good to go and Lamar's got both those guys, it's going to be a nightmare for Houston trying to cover those 2 tight ends plus Zay Flowers and, you know, whatever else. If Lamar, whenever he's like, I'm just going to pick up 25 yards right now.
Right.
Yeah. And that offense can do everything. Sorry.
No, you're okay. So to recap, there's a bunch of haters in the group. I understand. I'm riding the hot hand here with the Texans because I think it's exciting. But I'm glad that you mentioned efficiency there. Also, the quarterback rankings are up there as well for Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, and CJ Stroud. I still think the Texans were very poised against the Browns, and I'm glad that you guys highlighted that. Texans are bad against tight ends too. Thank you, Caleb Hawkeye, over in the chat for pointing that out. It'll
you know
be
what's
an
going to
interesting
happen?
matchup.
100%. Now that I said that thing about Mark Andrews, he's going to have like 2 touchdowns and 130 receiving yards. Guarantee it.
We call that a Zach Seeger special on the show. Brandon. Yeah.
I've been dead on with my Keenan Allen hate.
You just startled them up there, Joey.
That line again? That was for another episode. It's okay. We don't have to do that this time.
Do we have a code? We have Let's Ride up on the screen. What are they going to use?
Yeah. Now that I said that, you know what? Whatever Mark Andrews' pick'em total is, go higher. There will be no safer. Whoa. Oh, sorry. My screen disappeared. It's back. There will be no safer play for you than going higher on Mark Andrews. Also, this week for new customers, there we go. Get under that disclaimer, damn it. New customers, there's a Lamar Jackson special. So I think this is the game to start with. It's like a half a point or half a yard for Lamar Jackson. That's your gimme for new customers when you use our code Let's Ride to play Underdog Fantasy. And if you head over to my main channel, That's Good Sports, I dropped a bunch of private links to private drafts for a couple 3- and 4-person drafts. So you can sign up with the links over there. Just make sure you use our code Let's Ride when you do. Here's a question for you guys. If Russell Wilson were starting for both the Ravens and the Texans, who wins this game?
At the same time, as a clone?
Ravens by a mile. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's great, and he's the MVP. I think that's honestly maybe a great case for maybe against Lamar Jackson MVP or maybe for a CJ Stroud, because if you want to talk about like true most valuable player, look at where the Texans were last year. Look at where they are this year with CJ Stroud. And yes, they did make additions to that group, Tank Dell, but Tank Dell wasn't in that playoff game where they shredded again a historically great defense. I mean, and D'Amico Ryans deserves credit too, absolutely. But I don't know. CJ Stroud is unbelievable. He is carrying that Houston Texans organization on his shoulders right now. And I think Lamar Jackson is doing the same for the Ravens to an extent. But I think their defense is still, a top 2 defense in the league. And it's only a top 2 thing because, again, the Browns are historically great. The Ravens are historically great in their own right, if you look at some metrics. And then I just think the offensive skill talent's a little better and the infrastructure and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the same thing. The defense, that's really what takes the cake. I give Russell Wilson a good defense. I don't believe in the offense.
The Ravens are more well-balanced. I think you both bring up great points. Zach, I really like how you outed yourself there, though. It does really mean CJ Stroud is making his way up there into the ranks. I would want to know how you scientifically went about cloning Russell Wilson. And do you use the original Russell Wilson or just the clones? Because I think the idea there is that the clones are more pure. Like you can reset those and kind of use like they don't have all the wear and tear that the original Russell Wilson has. I just want to throw that out there.
There is no wear and tear. He's unlimited. There's unlimited numbers of him.
The cloning is easy. It's getting a semen that's the tough part. So
Jesus.
If you guys want to know how I do that and how I extract it, I will reveal it after the show. But that's just for us. That's just for us.
Is it tough? Because I thought he was Mr. Unlimited.
I mean, once you get started, it's easy. But
The tank runs dry. We have to move on, and this cannot continue. The Chiefs and the Bills, the first road playoff for Patrick Mahomes in his entire career. The Chiefs are the underdogs here in this matchup. We've seen it before. Kansas City has eliminated Buffalo twice in the past 3 seasons, and it's an instant classic matchup when you think about the Chiefs and the Bills. But honestly, I'm getting quite tired of this little matchup here. The Bills are facing a different Chiefs team than in the past. Mahomes is 38-11 on road games during the regular season in his career. That's the most wins of any QB in their first 50 road starts, and that's per ESPN stats and information. He's also had 8 interceptions in games played away from Arrowhead in 2023. Listen, when Josh Allen is on fire, we've seen what he's capable of doing. That 52-yard running touchdown score was absolutely amazing, but we also also see what happens when the pressure's on for Josh Allen. Is he able to get it done against the Chiefs? I think a home game for the Bills means a lot more. I just can't keep doing insanity of this is the Bills' year, because honestly, I've been saying that for the past 3 years, guys. So I'm a little bit bought out there on the Bills. I still hope they get it done. But if Mahomes gets it done in Buffalo, I think he's got a run on the NFL and the league as a whole. Like, there has to be no more doubt going into this. He's got Rashee Rice, which I'm going to take as an anytime touchdown score because he's the hot hand. How do you guys think this matchup goes? Are you more in favor of the Bills getting it done this season?
Yeah, I would have segued right in from our last conversation with how excited Tony Romo must be for this game. I mean, my goodness, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, what a show it's going to be. And he gets to call it. I think this is going to be a good game. I do have more faith in the Bills. They do have a lot of injuries, but defensively, they've done a really good job making it through. Or I don't know, just like kind of persevering despite being down Matt Milano and Trey White and all these key pieces. Their defense has weirdly been at its best down the stretch without all those pieces. So that's a big factor for me. And again, their offense is kind of at its best. It's been all season now. I think it's been pretty good all year. They were just having worse turnover luck at the start of the season and have kind of had better turnover luck down the stretch. And right here in the Mile High City, we should know the value of turnover luck. This team was 4-0 during the 5-week stretch when they were plus 13 in turnover differential and 3-8 otherwise, or 3-9 otherwise. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of turnover luck. It's favoring the Bills right now. And the Chiefs, I don't think they can figure out their offense. It looked good in negative 30-degree weather against a South Beach team, but I don't know if that's really something we should think is replicable week after week when it was only done in those conditions.
Yeah, it's fair. And and the Chiefs are playing away this time. That's kind of what's different between these other games that they've had. And I think that's important. Like, it's playoff atmosphere. We know how that stadium's going to be. The Buffalo fans, they're notorious for being insane. So I'm excited for that atmosphere. But also, it just feels like it's the Bills' time to me. I'm going off of feelings for this one here. And it feels like this should happen. Bree is shaking her head because she started this off with, I'm done with the feelings. But it just feels like this should happen for the Buffalo Bills at some point here, and I think it's this game. I think the Chiefs have been largely disappointing in some aspects this year, mostly the receivers and stuff like that. I don't see any reason for that to change. I have the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think you're right about the feeling. I usually, it's like, how scared am I of the Chiefs, really? And I think the Bills, with their struggles this season, just kind of went under the radar and everybody dropped their expectations for them. And since they did that, and then they somehow ended up with the 2 seed, they also got a favorable matchup like the Chiefs against the Steelers, also in shitty conditions. So both the Steelers and the Chiefs and Bills are primed to play in this game, and it's supposed to be cold again. I don't think home field matters for either of these teams. I feel like if they're going to play well, they just do it. No matter where they are. But it feels like it's the Bills' time. It feels like they've been battle tested and answered that this season in ways that they haven't in previous seasons. Josh Allen had no turnovers last game. I think you can have 2 turnovers in this game and still win. And they shut down Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, the defense did. And the Chiefs' offense needs Isaiah Pacheco to be successful for everything else to kind of work, because we see the pass game not work at times.
Right.
And Pacheco is a big reason they were also able to beat Miami. Hopefully Mahomes doesn't do his dumbass scrambles where it looks like he's running in slow motion and nobody will touch him, because that could be an issue for the Bills. And it kind of depends on Terrell Bernard. He got hurt, and he's been the dude playing at linebacker that's made us forget how good like Matt Milano and how important Matt Milano was to their defense. But and like the difference too right now, like Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox being back lately, like I'm more excited about those guys than I am Travis Kelce right now. And I didn't think I would be saying that unless I was like just intentionally trying to shit on Travis Kelce and the Chiefs for no reason. But like, I just like that's a matchup that might be much more favorable for the Bills.
I'm glad that you brought it up, Perna, because the idea here is that is the defense legit enough for Kansas City to shut down Josh Allen? He could very well have more interceptions. And I think that's kind of the delineating piece here, because on paper, the Bills' offense is a lot better. It's just functioning better, but you bring up some exciting pieces. Tight ends are back. They're no longer on IR. What can they accomplish there against, although I did see Snead absolutely eat Tyreek Hill alive. So it'll be very interesting to see how this happens. Zach, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. I think
it was really good. So that's an issue for sure. But and also Bills get Rasul Douglas back too, right? So
yeah, he said he after the game he said he felt good enough to play in that one. So it'd be a surprise if they don't get him back at this point. I think the point about the offensive defensive matchups is a good one. I will say EPA per play. I'll cite it again. Chiefs third over this is since Thanksgiving. The Chiefs have been the third best defense. The Bills have been the seventh best defense. Meanwhile, the Bills have been the eighth best offense, and the Chiefs have been the 20th best offense, right between the Ritter Falcons and the O'Connell Raiders. So I do think it still kind of favors the Bills here. I don't know how scary this Chiefs passing attack is, even with Mahomes. And as for the home field advantage, I do think there's a strong case to be made that maybe it won't matter. Mahomes is 36-11 at home over the course of his career. He's 38-11 on the road over the course of his career. However, he's never played in a road playoff game. And if you look at his output this season, at least statistically, he's 17-6 touchdown to interception ratio at home, 10-8 on the road. So I don't know, but I do think it's interesting that we're finally seeing Patrick Mahomes in his first ever road playoff start. It's rare we're talking about a quarterback that's played as many playoff games as him and has never played one on the road. It's hard to do. It's hard to win a playoff game on the road.
Trends are meant to be broken. And as I mentioned above, this is a completely different circumstance. Joey pointed to it for Fields. We're kind of all up in those vibes and emotions of what could happen. But does any other quarterback elicit the same type of fear when you go, well, if you throw Mahomes out there, somehow he always figures it out and gets it done? Is the road variable the one that changes your feelings on that? Or do you still kind of feel like he's the boogeyman hanging out there in the ether?
I'm not scared of him anymore.
Nice.
I'm terrified.
Vince Joseph and my defense beat him. Not scared of that guy anymore. Not at all.
Get ready for our streak.
Not at. Yep. I'll be scared of him next year when they sign like 6 free agent wide receivers and somehow they're all good. Then I'll be scared again.
I think as long as Rashee Rice is developing, I'm going to be feeling good. I think Travis Kelce's on the way out. This is going to be a nice little rest bit. I think we saw against the Dolphins that Rashee Rice is coming. He can't really do a lot right now in terms of a developed route tree, but he's a pretty talented player. And I think he's going to cause the Broncos problems in the future.
Yeah, no, he is.
Right now, they don't have much. It's like Isaiah Pacheco and that's it.
I'll tell you exactly when I'm going to get scared again. It's when these mock drafts start coming out, and it happens every single year. They're going to be mocked the fastest player in the draft. From now all the way until the draft. And it freaks me out every single year. Yeah.
That's fair. Shouts out to the actual preferred Kelce brother. That's Jason. Whether or not he does retire, we're going to jump into our next game by that terrible segue by talking about the Bucs and the Lions. Guys, I'm having trouble with this one because I want to see Baker kind of continue his vengeance / I'm the dude tour. But I really want the Lions to continue winning because how cool is it that winning multiple playoff games in the same season since 1957 would be what they're up against. They're no longer the underdog here. I get it because the Lions are favored, but the Buccaneers have won 6 of their last 7. They eliminated the flailing Eagles. Bye birdie to them. But you've got a lot of returns here. You've got a lot of hot streaks here. You got Aiden Hutchinson, who's on a 3-game multiple sack streak. And Jared Goff is finding his way with his tight end Sam Laporta back. You also got a really great run game there with Gibbs and Montgomery. I think the Lions is just the smarter bet. I think they can run past their way to the next round because the the Buccaneers to me are a limited team. They're not as balanced. And Goff's QBR drops when they're facing the blitz. So the Buccaneers defense will kind of be the decision maker here, but there's not a lot going on with Baker Mayfield in his offense other than Baker can sling it and he's super exciting. It's very flashy. Does he get it done?
I'm going Detroit. I think the Lions have this one. One, like you said, Bree, they're almost impossible not to root for right now. I'm rooting for the Lions this playoffs. I don't care who they're playing against. I'm rooting for the Lions to win the game. Just because, I mean, I remember the bags over all of their head that's a picture ingrained in my head right now, is that just the plastic bag 0-16. Yeah, it was bad, the Lions in the past. So I'm rooting for them big time. Goff is better at home than he is away, too. So that's playing a part in this. Obviously, the dome, it wouldn't matter if he was in Tampa Bay either. But I am rooting for the Lions, and I do think they get it done. They're the better football team than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we kind of expected the Lions to be good this year. Tampa Bay, not so much. So I'm going Lions all day. Sorry, muted.
It happened.
It's a habit literally every single show.
God damn it. God damn it. Every time. All right. I'm going to go with the Lions too. I think they're just much better team than the Buccaneers. I don't think the Buccaneers are a playoff caliber team. I think they barely limped their way in despite having a really easy schedule. The NFC South in general had a really easy schedule this year. And none of them could still stack games or stack wins. I remember conversations in September nationally about how, the NFC South looks rough, but looking at how easy their schedules are, we might get two NFC South teams in the playoffs. And that just didn't happen because none of them could take care of business, including the Bucs. I mean, yes, they've closed the season hot, and that's the reason they're here now. But I don't know. I think Baker Mayfield's playing well right now, but the Eagles were an absolute tire fire. That was a defense that was arguably the worst in the NFL over the last month of the season. I think the Lions are a different story. Not that they're a great defense, but they're at least respectable. And that offense is going to be much better than the Eagles was too. And then I think they have the best home field advantage currently right now in the playoffs. That was very real against the Rams. I think it's going to continue to be real. That city, that region is excited to have these games and they're fired up about it. And then the whole Goff aspect that Joey alluded to, their home field really matters right now. And as long as they're at home, I think I'm going to continue to pick them to win these games. I think this is probably their last home game though. I mean, I would be down for a Lions Packers NFC championship, but as long as they're at home, I'm picking the Lions.
Yeah, I think they'll do something the Eagles refuse to do, and that was tackle. So that's already one greater challenge that the Buccaneers have. They played earlier in the season, and Detroit kind of won handily in that matchup. There's just, in addition to, I think, Detroit being a better team, and I too am rooting for the Baker Mayfield redemption tour. It's fun. He deserves it, and he's played well for chunks throughout the season. He's had some bad games too, but it feels like the Lions just have momentum on top of everything. After just getting that first win, and I think the Rams are a tougher matchup than the Buccaneers. So they get an easier game after the wild card round. And I think that works in their favor. And I think this might be maybe the most lopsided game of the weekend, if I had to pick one. And I think the Bucs are going to play. I don't think they're not going to show up. I'm not trying to trash them, but I just think the Lions are that much better.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to trash them because, Baker Mayfield has a full force tunnel vision outlook on the Denver Broncos, right? He's, probably coming. Do you think the Bucs resign him?
We got Baker?
I mean, maybe.
Will you play for $6 million a year, Baker? Oh, we'll double your salary. $8 million a year.
It's tough not to get excited about. I mean, it's funny how we talk about some of these quarterbacks where we're like, you're really exciting, flashy plays. And then we're like, oh no, you don't need to be our quarterback though. That's okay.
If people were frustrated with like Russell Wilson minus the athleticism, I've got some bad news about what Baker Mayfield is, because it is pretty much the spitting image of Russell Wilson without the athleticism. So I hope they don't go there. But I do
Yeah,
think
but he's
it's definitely a real
funnier.
possibility.
His humor is
He is
funnier.
funnier. He's more fun. He's a party guy, but I think on the field, that's about that.
Now
You
we're
can
okay
drunk
with
Baker
swag.
on Friday night, or you can go to church with Russ on Sunday morning. Just pick your poison.
Or you could revisit the conversation of it. I'm not going to go in that direction. We don't have a long enough show for that, but we'll talk about it at some point, I'm sure. Don't say the name out loud. It's like Voldemort. The NFC, the last breakdown is going to be the Packers at the 49ers. Obviously, Niners are off of a bye. Love has had all of the right pieces to come together for the Packers to win over the Cowboys. I really appreciate what I saw out of Jordan Love. He's had the time to really marinate, percolate. Now the Packers are somehow finding success with another quarterback because they're just that spoiled. But the 49ers, I think they're a much bigger threat, especially after a bye week. They've had some time. Brock Purdy is trying to prove something because in 2022, his hopes were basically dashed by that elbow injury. And Kyle Shanahan has a chance to improve his postseason record. So it's all really in line for the Niners to be dominant here. They're going to rely on Christian McCaffrey with or without coming off of that injury. So no NFL team has more running plays of 10 yards or more than the Niners. And I think they're going to continue that trend. The Packers run defense really isn't up to snuff for CMC, even at its best. And I think the Niners are the best team left in the NFC. Obviously, not a bold or hot take. I really like what Jordan Love is doing, but I don't think this game is close. I'm going the Niners, guys. I know this is probably you probably wanted me to go the other direction and vote for the Packers. I can't do it. I don't think they have enough to compete here against the Niners. They're a whole team.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's much to explain here. I think the 49ers on paper are like the best team in the NFL. I really do think that. And I think that's pretty obvious. You have like the best left tackle. I think you have one of the best wide receivers core. You got the best running back. Like they're just loaded in multiple areas. Pass rushers, crazy. Everywhere across the field, the 49ers are good. And it's just hard to pick against them with Kyle Shanahan being their coach. Obviously, he hasn't got it done all the way in the Super Bowl or the playoffs yet, Kyle Shanahan, but hey, I'm going with them without a question in this game. I love the Jordan Love story. It's really great. I think he's going to be a tremendous quarterback going in the future. It's just not his time yet. You usually have to wait your time. You're not going to go hit on this huge run. So I'm not going Packers here, 49ers.
I mean, I'm going with the 49ers too. I kind of disagree with you guys on this being so distant. I mean, Vegas is with you. It's a 9-point spread, but that's where this Cowboys Packers game was before the Packers absolutely lit up the Cowboys. The Packers defense, which has largely been a joke under Joe Barry, has been playing a little better since the start of December. They're more like mediocre, not that they're good, but I think they're like 16th in EPA per play. And this offense is the only one better than the 49ers in EPA per play over that span. So I think like with how Jordan Love is playing right now, I would not be surprised if they won. It is very reminiscent to me of like, honestly, CJ Stroud too. It's reminiscent to me of like the Joe Burrow Bengals that one year where they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and it felt like it was way too early for them, but the Stars kind of honestly another a young group of skill players that looked really good. I think there's some overlap there, and they're hot enough right now that I give them a puncher's chance against anyone. Ultimately, though, I agree with what you guys said. I think the Niners are one of two truly elite teams in the NFL this year. They're two of the most elite teams ever. DVOA, another advanced metric I love, has the Ravens as the third best team in NFL history. And the Niners, this iteration of the Niners as, where are they? I don't see it right now. A top 10 team in NFL history. So I think we're going to get, it just feels like we're on a collision course for these two teams to meet again in Vegas for the Super Bowl.
is so rich. It is like so rich for my blood. You have an offense that's loaded with weapons, an arsenal for Brock Purdy. Maybe his name doesn't elicit a lot of excitement for you. Jordan Love does have a lot of momentum going for him, but the 49ers defense is really stout. It's pretty stellar here. It's robust enough, I think, to make the Packers kind of cower. So I'm really interested to hear your justification for that, because Green Bay's defense has its work cut out for them. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Perna, did you give your pick? I'm sorry.
No, it's I'll take the Packers. I'll take the Packers. What's that? What was Jordan Love's EPA versus Stroud's EPA over the wild card weekend?
It's
I
nuts.
feel like Love might have been a little better than Stroud and not getting the credit for it.
He was. Now again, he had like such a small sample because they have like non-garbage time plays because they blew the Cowboys out so fast was part of it. And then they also here I'm trying to isolate just for playoffs. It was over a 1.0 EPA per play, which basically translates to every dropback was worth a point, or every 6 dropbacks was worth a touchdown in terms of the value he was creating for his team, which is insane. Yeah, 1.043 EPA per play. His CPOE, which is looking at the difficulty of throws and how accurate you are on it, was 19.0, which is just out of this world good. Yeah, CJ Stroud also was out of his mind. 0.6 is like double what we've seen from the average MVP season. The average MVP season over the last 5 years is like 0.35. So you've got Stroud at just about 0.7 and then Love at 1.0. Both were historically great that first.
Yeah, and they both did it against defenses that were good prior to that game. So the Cowboys defense was good, the Browns defense was good. Now they each have a much greater challenge in 2 defenses. We're pretty damn sure these defenses are good and will be good this weekend. The Packers defense is what will cost them the game, if anything. But Grossi said something at the end of our stream, or maybe it was afterwards, about the Niners schedule that nobody's kind of talking about, that they've also had an easy schedule. And I started looking back at it, and it's kind of true. And we give a lot of teams that we think are frauds shit if their schedule is easy, right? And the Niners have kind of gotten a pass. Like the last good team they played, you could go back to when they played the Buccaneers in November. And do we even know if the Buccaneers are a good team? So maybe some of their dominant performances look that way because they haven't played stellar competition, and maybe they're getting the Packers at the wrong fucking time, and maybe we will get a Lions-Packers championship game. So I'll stick with the Packers.
No, I think Zach said it perfect last time. Like, were the Bengals their Super Bowl year when they went to the Super Bowl, were they actually like the second best team in the NFL? I don't know, but they got hot at the right time and carried that all the way. So that could definitely happen with the Packers. I could see it. It's a 1-game elimination. It's not like the NBA, 7 games. So it could happen any given Sunday. That's what they say.
Kurt Warner and the Cardinals.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a good point. One too.
He'll catch on fire, and who knows what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes and the Chiefs, the 2 times they won Super Bowls. A lot of luck. I remember in those playoffs.
That con artist Eli Manning. Sorry, Brie, go.
Well, another good one.
Expose Eli Manning, because those Patriots losses still really hurt my heart. So I appreciate you backing me up there. No, it's an interesting conversation that we've talked about probably the last 2 seasons. It's been above in the front of mind for me is that the parity in the NFL, the AFC, the NFC, it breaks down in different ways. We were like, I did not see that coming. Not necessarily because they're the best teams. I don't think the Steelers should have made the playoffs, but they did. And now they're gone. So deservingly so. Don't ask anything to Mike Tomlin in the next couple of days. I think you just let him cool down for a little bit before you start pressing him on his plans for the next season. But I mean, that's all I have for the breakdown for these divisional rounds. We'll obviously talk about the championship games. Perna, anything else from you?
Nope. I'm done.
Nope. All right. Well, Everybody in the chat, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We'll be back. And if you want more Let's Talk Broncos coverage, a shameless self-plug for all of us over there, go search Let's Talk Broncos, or it's linked down in the description. You can follow the rest of our work over there. We go live intermittently throughout the week, and honestly on a very consistent basis, where you can find the trio of us talking all things Denver Broncos. We're eliminated from the playoffs, but we still can't stop talking about football. We'll see y'all next week, probably. You'll never know what combination you're going to get. Bye.
Make sure you sub over there.